This episode will definitely make all the famous sports car brands nervous. You won't want to swipe away. Matt received an email from a fan. He told Matt that he had a McLaren 720S for sale. The price was less than half of the used car value. So, he immediately took a 2-hour flight to the fan's house. The McLaren 720S is absolutely the pinnacle of designement supercars of its time. It's futuristic. Streamlined body was born for speed. It's equipped with a 4.0-liter twin-turbocharged V8. Engine Afata delivers a ferocious 720 horsepower. 0 to 100 km per hour acceleration takes only 2.9 seconds. With a top speed of 342 km per hour, it's a beast. The fan's car had been in a rather serious accident. Lifting the car cover reveals the damage on the left side. The door is basically destroyed, only covered with plastic wrap. The wheel also has varying degrees of damage, but the most severe damage is on the right side. The entire right side looks like a complete mess. And the rear wheel is missing. The entire car body is deformed. The wheel, set aside, is no longer round. Looking closely at the carbon ceramic rotor inside, the brake disc is cracked. This means the entire wheel assembly must be replaced. However, Matt wasn't focused on that. He wanted to check second-generation carbon fiber monocoque cockpit, the monocoque. To not only improves rigid but also maximizes the car's lightweight construction under its protection. Although the exterior looks severely damaged, the interior of the cockpit is still in good condition. But then, the worst-case scenario appeared. The carbon fiber tub was damaged. Once this kind of thing is damaged, the entire cockpit has to be replaced. This made Matro consider whether to buy the car, because the price is really not cheap. He sent photos of the damaged Part 2 McLaren technicians to see if it could be repaired directly. But the reply was that needed to see the car in person to make a decision. After some agonizing and soul-searching, Matt finally bought the McLaren. Soon, the 720S was delivered to the shop. Dad was still all smiles. They brought a power source to connect, to see if the alternator would work. Because the doors need battery Pareto open completely, it also requires using the manual key inside the key fob, insert it into the keyhole on the front cowl, and turn to open. Unfortunately, after the father and son duo studied it for a while, they found the small key inside was already broken. Matt had to use a pair of pliers to grip it. That's how they finally opened the front hood. Old Matt immediately connected the power. The doors opened easily. Pushing the car into the shop, Dad removed the entire trunk liner, unexpectedly. There were a lot of nuts hidden underneath. It looks like 8 was occupied by squirrels before. It seems this car had been parked. It's there for more than a day or two. Now to try and start the car to confirm if the engine is damaged to get brake pressure. They need to clamp the brake hose for the missing rear wheel. Matt got into the cockpit, pressed the start button, but there was no reaction. The kid's face changed. It was his dad who reminded him thought he needed to press the brake pedal to start only. Then did Matt press the switch again? Then the engine roared to life. This show stat, at least the most important part, the engine is fine. This is definitely great news. However, just by starting it once, they discovered an oil leak. The McLaren 720S has a dry oil sump. The leak is right where the cooler is, but it smells like transmission fluid. They'll ignore this expected problem for now. Bakaza needs to take the car to a McLaren authorized repair shop to see if the carbon fiber cockpit can be repaired directly. Soon, a technician came out to inspect it. The final conclusion was that the damage was too severe and couldn't be repaired, so the most time-saving and cost-effective option was off the table. So the father and son had to tow the car back. They had to find another way. The first thing they did when they got back was to get the car off the trailer. This way, they could get a better look at the leak. After checking, they confirmed it was the transmission oil cooler that was leaking here. Matt decided to do a temporary repair. After sanding it down, he used filler to patch it. This way, he could start the car again. He got into the cockpit and pressed the start button. The engine started again. The repaired spot started leaking again. But this, at least, proves that the engine is indeed fine. While Matt was searching online for a carbon fiber cockpit, the others started disassembling the damaged parts of the car body. Fortunately, through continuous disassembly, the other carbon ceramic rotor on the left side and the brake disc were not damaged. The most severely damaged part was the door. It was basically beyond saving. Then they removed the seats, which also gave them a clearer view of the damaged carbon fiber cockpit. Matt called the McLaren service center. The price of a brand new cockpit made. Metro Consider again. The price for a used one online was £35,000. He was speechless. It bothered him for a whole week until one of his fans offered to sponsor him. For £5,000, he sold the entire cockpit to Matt at a low price. This solved his urgent problem, however. There was one problem. The cockpit that was sent was for a right-hand drive, and the McLaren 720S Matt Boutte was a left-hand drive. This meant they had to make a choice. How to adjust it. Considering the instrument panel in the cockpit, the steering rack and everything else, they were basically intact. So the final decision was to convert the new cockpit to a left-hand drive. But what needed to be done now was to continue disassembling the car to find all the damaged parts. As they continued to disassemble, Matt found another broken carbon ceramic brake disc, and the shock absorber was also a bit bent. Opening the engine bay, what came into view was a set worth 8,000 pounds. After removing the exhaust pipe, underneath is the transmission and the engine in front. What sprayed all over Matt's face was from the McLaren's suspension. This special suspension system is interconnected at all four corners. The pressure of the fluid is inside it depends on your posture when the car is moving. Disassembling the entire car seems troublesome, but in fact, it's not easy at all. The numerous wires in the car are mind-numbing to remove the engine. Almost all connections have to be disconnected, and the engine mounts are fixed to the chassis. So the car has to be lifted to loosen them. At the same time, the engine oil and coolant in the car have to be drained. This is a very time-consuming process, not just disassembly, but also remembering how to put it back together later. Even 2 wrenches were broken during the process. By the time the engine was finally separated from the car body, it was already the next day. After that, all the wiring on the frame has to be separated. Then it will be easy to replace the cockpit. This is destined to be another time-consuming process. It was also the first time the father and son worked on a McLaren. They could only learn as they disassembled. Everything on the car has to be removed, including the dashboard and the floor, and all the wiring and hoses. The most troublesome part during this period was the dazzling wiring. This was even more time-consuming than removing the engine. Another long day passed. Only then was the front subframe removed. After removing the heater, organizing all the wiring harnesses, complicated disassembly work finally came to an end. Now, it's time to give a scavenged cockpit a good cleaning. They took it outside and gave it a good wash with a high-pressure water gun. After washing and drying it, looking at the tangled mess of wires, Matt didn't know where to start for a moment, but things always have to be done. Once you start, we'll always figure it out. So next up was another time-consuming installation. Now, there's a problem. Matt wants to install the new frame directly onto the cockpit, but he can't be sure if he can put the fuel tank in later. So here, he can only first see if he can remove the fuel tank directly if he can. It means he can also install it directly later. Now the fuel tank is full of fuel, so it needs to be siphoned out first. Fortunately, the fuel tank can be removed directly. This way he can install the rear frame with peace of mind. The new frame cost Matt £2.500. It's still within budget for now. Then he can continue to connect all the wiring. Fortunately, it was just disassembled, so the installation is very fast. Otherwise, if it took a long time, some things would be easy to get confused. In addition to all the wiring, he also has to install a large number of cooling pipes and air conditioning lines. Then, it's time to install the fuel tank. Hopefully, it won't be a situation where it can't be installed. Fortunately, the fuel tank was installed very easily in the end. Next, he can reinstall the car engine. When fixing it, he also needs to lift the car to avoid accidents due to shifting the center of gravity. He needs to use straps to secure it here. This way, he can tighten the bolts with peace of mind. Old Matt started installing the exhaust pipe. After Matt installed the intercooler, he also installed the cooling radiator, by the way. But now there is another big problem. Thetis. This new cockpit is right-hand drive. So here it needs some adjustments. And there is no other better way here. The only way is to take the original cockpit and cut off the needed parts, then glue it directly to this new cockpit. Fortunately, through comparison, in fact, the difference between the two sides is not too big. The main thing is the steering column. The position of the brake master cylinder are different. Place the cut-off part here for comparison and marking. Then drill the corresponding holes. Then, just glue them together. After testing, it is also completely feasible. Then the remaining parts must be adjusted in the same way, and at the bottom, you still need to drill out the pedal-required holes. Just like that, a right-hand drive cockpit frame was adjusted to a left-hand drive, and all the gluing is very firm. Next, you can continue to connect the remaining wiring. With the joint efforts of the father and son, the rest of the work became smooth. Soon they started to install the front subframe, although it is very tedious, but Dad is obviously enjoying it. In order to install it faster, not only the father and son also worked very late. Every day in the US, I forget more and more things. The more complicated thing here is the installation of the suspension system, because he has to deal with hydraulic devices. And even if the installation is complete, if you want to get on the road, you still need to go to the McHeaven service point for debugging and setup. Soon, all the things outside the cockpit have been installed. However, when they were about to install the entire dashboard, they found that they forgot to adjust the holes for the mounting brackets. So here you need to first lift the dashboard into the cockpit. After finding the exact position of the mounting bracket, then take it out and then drill holes. After finishing, can you lift the dashboard and install it? Dad started adding brake fluid, because if you want to start it, this thing is also essential. At the same time, he also has to remove the brake calipers from the scrap tires. This thing can still be used. In addition, the previously leaked oil cooler also needs to be replaced here. Then you can add engine oil again. Since the ordered fuse has not yet arrived, so the battery is directly connected to the starter motor. Although the screen is full of error messages, but at least there is a reaction. Art plans to try to start it. Before he could start, he was comforted by himself. The reason why there is no reaction is because the center console is not installed yet. There is a sensor on it used to identify the car key. Roughly install it first. Matt pressed the button, but there was no movement at all. Several people looked for the reason for a long time. They even rechecked if there was a problem with the wiring. They found nothing. This made Matt a little frustrated. I really can't figure out the reason. When I was about to go home and go to bed, I accidentally found that the wire of the trip computer was not connected to the engine. With the idea of giving it a try, Matt connected them. Then, he tried to start it again. Expectedly, the engine. It turned out to be the cause of such a small thing. It's really ridiculous that his mother opened the door for ridiculousness. It's ridiculously home. Since the engine is not enough money, then the rest can be installed with confidence. After putting on the carpet, everyone started looking for suspension at the junkyard, because the previous one was a bit bent. After some searching, in the end, Matt got a price of £700. Bought a second-hand suspension strut. After preparing the accessories, then you can arrange it. After finishing, you have to install new wheels. And in order to have a more intuitive understanding of this suspension, Matt also drew a schematic on the small blackboard. He said this would help connect the hydraulic lines. In addition, he spent £2,000 to buy the new carbon ceramic brake discs, have also been delivered. Here you can install it directly. After that, there are some minor adjustments. Besides, Matt found a spare rear wing. Fix it directly on it, because he wants to connect the hydraulic pipes and the air pump. Test whether a part of the tail wing can be opened normally. In addition, he has to check with a vacuum machine. All cooling track connections. Is there any leakage? As a result, it was found out without any accident. There is something wrong. With the radiator, Dad is responsible for buying second-hand radiators. Matt called McLaren customer service. Ordered the suspension masters. After thinking about it, he decided to use a new suspension master. The load is a bit expensive, but you don't have to overdo it. Soon Dad came back with the radiator. Just replace it here. After testing, there is no leakage. By the way, Old Ma also bought a lot of necessary wires, because the right side of the car is badly damaged. Many speed limits have been damaged. All of them need to be replaced. After connecting all the speed limits, Matt sat in the driver's seat. Press the button to start the engine. This time, although it started successfully, but for some reason, the adult is adventuring. At first I thought it was not enough coolant, so the two added a new coolant pointer. After that, the situation may not get better. The center console suddenly stopped moving, but the screen shows that the temperature is normal. This is obviously not a coolant problem. This makes Matt happy. Fortunately, the engine will later Matt also used a kind of blue liquid. What exactly it is, I have no idea. But he can detect it also. If there's a problem, the liquid will turn yellow. After a fierce rain-like inspection, obviously no problem was found, but the engine is still running at a large amount. Soon the workshop was filled with thick smoke, so Matt could only go to ask a professional. By the way, get back the purchase suspension master. Facts have proved that it is beneficial to learn more and ask more. He finally found the problem. The so-called reason is that he filled the engine oil too full. This caused it to enter the intake system. The combustion disease eventually discharged from the exhaust. McLaren 720S does not have oil teeth. You can only see the specific oil smell from the screen. Now, there is no big oil in the get. He guessed it was the engine oil that burned the pores. Anyway, now the new suspension struts are arranged. This time when disassembling, not only was the camera guy covered in spray, but he was replaced. The removed suspension strut was removed by Matt. Just throw it away. In addition, the previously purchased handbrake calipers have also arrived. Here, also install it. Everything is ready. Some lining in the car. The cover can also be fixed. Next, the seats and so on have to be reinstalled. After such a long time of reconstruction work, Matt couldn't wait to experience it, so he immediately changed to a few temporary tires, sit in the driver's seat, and start the car. He drove directly outside with the cameraman. Although this car is still just a frame now, the outer shell and decorations have not been installed. But this did not affect Matt's enthusiasm at all. He started to have fun around the store. The smooth posture does not last. The body panels that were ordered long ago have finally arrived. Matt chose a cool mint-colored panel. When combined with a large number of carbon fiber panel components, I believe it will also create a different kind of spark. The first thing to install is its classic butterfly door. After finishing, come to the other side. But there is a problem with the door chain on this side. Here we have to reorder. Go get it back later. While there's time, first, fix the rest. Of the panels that can be installed, what needs to be noted is you need to adjust the angle and distance of each panel from time to time. Otherwise, the gap will be too large. This is like playing with tangrams as a child. It's both inhibiting and stress-relieving at the same time. The embellishment of gray and black carbon fiber panels. It can be said to be the finishing touch. Next, the window glass also needs to be arranged. In addition, the previously broken windshield and sunroof also need to be replaced. At this time, Dad also came back with a new door hinge. The door on this side can finally be installed. But I don't know if it's the wrong model or what. This one still doesn't match. It will take a lot of time to replace it. So, the father and son, in the weather of many degrees below zero, came outside, removed the previous door hinge. First, install the old one to make do. After changing the new hinge, replace another one. Car. In addition, Matt invited a technician over. With McLaren's special setting equipment, help him adjust the suspension. Expel the air inside. By the way, adjust the hydraulic device of the rear wing together. But now, this rear wing with a different color, it's time to retire. Remove it too. Install the exhaust pipe underneath. After this, the full set that Matt ordered. The CT carbon fiber body kit has also arrived, including hood, diffuser, skirt splitter, and new rear wing, etc. This will completely change the appearance of this car. Before installation, Dad also has to connect the brake lights on the rear wing. The rest of the time is the fixing work of these panels. After installation, insurance method. You must also connect the camera and parking sensors. In addition, the rear of the car, the huge diffuser, is also a highlight. It's just like an F1 car. The effect after installation is amazing. McLaren doesn't like to do things accurate to the millimeter. For example, some gaps between the body panels. Their solution is to fill it with a lot of sealing rings. Matt put the car on the lift. It is convenient for him to install the headlights and the bottom kit, because the headlights need to be installed from the tires. So here we have to remove the tires first. After the bottom of the car is completely finished, you also need to install a splitter on the front face. This is his true appearance. The glass of the sunroof on the roof was replaced by Matt with a whole piece of Gorilla Glass to hear this McLaren 720. Although it is now late at night, Matt couldn't wait to drive the car out. The reason why it was transported by trailer is because this car is not registered yet and cannot be on the road. I rushed to the tire shop overnight. The boss also gave enough face, waiting for Matt again. I can't wait to change his new tires. But with the height of this chassis, plus the splitter in front, getting off the trailer also took a lot of effort. Get out of the car close to the ground. Without further ado, let's stick to the old rules. The new tire has Matt's name and letters on it. With the help of the staff, the tires were replaced quickly. At this point, this McLaren classic supercar, it can be considered basically rebuilt. It's completely repaired and crashed car. It also took Matt and others several months. But now it seems that everything is worth it. Although it can't be on the road, but there is a private road here. Matt can't help but want to test drive it. The roar of the car and the strong feeling of being pushed back made me always lost. If it doesn't happen unexpectedly, it will happen unexpectedly. When he was proud, a lot of thick smoke came out from the rear of the car again. Dad also hurriedly chased after him with a fire extinguisher. Now I see a lot of white smoke trapped. When I get back in the driver's seat, I find that I can't start it successfully again. It's like being locked by the system. Matt said he was speechless. He drove the car home. This time, he decided to drain some engine oil directly, but it still couldn't be started. Then there is only one way now. That is to send it to the McLaren service center. Soon, both the person and the car arrived at the technical department. Fortunately, there is a fan of Matt here. Explained a lot of doubts to Matt. He also brought him a lot of help. Through his inspection, he said the problem is not serious. Many are some electronic modules that need to be updated. Ear powder. The Silk friends also updated them all directly, and also helped Matt with some faults in the car. Code exclusion. This makes him very excited. After resetting the car system with a professional instrument, now it can be started successfully. Then he also did a 4-wheel alignment for the car. Use a laser aligner to keep everything consistent. If there is a problem, it needs to be adjusted in time. It took more than an hour. Finally, the adjustment was completed. Then this is the real reconstruction. Matt was still worried about how much it would cost. The fan said that he provided free service. This made even the thick-skinned Matt feel a little embarrassed. Goodbye, fan friends. Next, he has a big thing to do. The scene comes to a sharp racetrack. First, test this McLaren 720. Second, continue to challenge his friend's Lamborghini Huracan, which is the well-known Lamborghini Little, because last time Mate brought his own rebuilt Porsche 911 to kick the umbrella. As a result, he lost. To his friend's Lamborghini, this incident made Matt feel like a fishbone in his throat, a thorn in his side. It's like sitting on pins and needles. Today, I decided to bring the McLaren 720S to avenge my shame. In terms of power and weight, the McLaren 720S is slightly better than the CAF. However, the Lamborghini CAF is 4-wheel drive, and the McLaren 720 should suit rear-wheel drive, no matter what, whichever way first. For this, Matt also made 2 preparations. Facing the friend's provocation, Matt is going to start first. However, obviously, he is still somewhat unaccustomed to this car. The operation was a bit deformed along the way, but he still worked very hard. Next, let's see my friend throw gold at him. Obviously, his driving skills are better. This makes Matt want to share. Finally, the results are next. Matt finally lost again by a margin of 3 seconds. But he was not convinced. He felt that he lost because of his driving skills. So he took out his second-hand preparation. Matt found another of his own. As a professional driver friend came over, plans to let him drive his McLaren 720S. Run for a lap. At first, everything was very good. It seems that the operation is more stable than my Yoon's. I thought it would be my comeback. I didn't expect that after a while. There is still no sign of the car. Everyone hurried to find it by car. I didn't expect that this time I accidentally rushed into history. This is really embarrassing, but this is all fun between friends. It's not a real competition. Whatever you have to say, just say it. At 4. The performance of the McLaren 720S, still very satisfied. So the video comes to an end here. Wushan wishes all the old irons who liked it. Take pictures of your favorite super cute. Everyone's opinion on this McLaren 720 are welcome to the comment section to discuss.